Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be taking a card making kit. I'm going to make the cards that are in the kit. You can see this is brand new. I haven't even looked at the inside of it yet. But when I was looking at this online, I was trying to work out how I would use this one on a scrapbooking layout because I really love these delicate images here, but it's a little bit hard to see online. So I thought I would unbox it with you and we're going to see what the contents of this are on camera. And I know Stampin' Up do these as a little video, but I want to stretch this into at least one scrapbook double page spread. I'm not sure how this one's going to go because it is quite minimal, but I'm already loving these gorgeous little elements here. I'm hoping that you can see the gold foil treatment. But let's turn this over, have a look at the instructions. I'll get rid of this piece here and we're going to go through what is actually contained in the kit. Here are some more little placements. I think these are going to be on this card here or this one here because it's actually a rectangle shape. So let's have a look at the instructions. It's a little bit hard to see what these embellishments are like. You can already see there's a little bit of color and I'm going to go through those with you. But it's quite simple to put these cards together. Basically, all you need for this are the adhesive that's in here. There's some foam squares or dimensionals, and then there are some glue dots as well. So this is all the adhesive you need for these kits. They're quite minimalist in design. There's some gorgeous little gems. I'm going to put those off to the side here. And this has some gorgeous neutral tones here. I'm loving the look of these colors, but I think the best way to see what is in this kit, you can see there's some green tones, some gorgeous peach apricot tones, this gorgeous little delicate flower. I'm going to put those instructions aside and flip this over. These leaves are absolutely beautiful and so the floral elements, and I love how there's tissue paper in between each one just to protect them. Don't throw this away. You can use this on your cards and your layouts. I've been guilty in the past of throwing it away. I might hang on to it. These are some gorgeous vellum pieces. I'm wondering if there is a right side or a wrong side. This side here seems to have the stronger color, but if you want an even softer look, you could use the other side. There are 3 square cards. I haven't done one that's had square cards before, so that's going to be fun. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is make one of each card just like I did on a previous video, and I will link that below. And I did that with a card kit where I made the cards as is, one of each, and then I made 2 scrapbook layouts. These are gorgeous gold foil sentiments here, and you can see they are in the 4 languages, so I'm just going to make up the English ones. So they're pretty. Put those aside. There's some more card bases here. Now I'm just wondering if these are the standard A2 size. So it looks like they are. They're 5.5 by 4.25, and you've got 6 of those. So you make 3 of each design for this kit. There'll be some square envelopes, and this has got a gorgeous texture to it. I'm not sure that that is picking up on camera at all. And then there are 6 other envelopes here. So I'm going to push out all of these pieces. I'm going to do a couple on camera with you just so that you can see how easy they are to push out. You do have to take some care because these are delicate, but they push out easily. I can already tell I'm going to be snipping some of this apart so I can use multiple leaves. If I go back to the instructions, so it shows you number 1, 2, and 3 and what you need for each. So it's easy to sort things out into the piles. What I'm going to do is just push these out. I'm going to put one aside for the cards. So this one here, and then I will put the others in a pile for a scrapbook layout because I do like making the cards up and showing what they look like. So I'm going to do some sorting. I'm going to put the 3 cards together, but I won't do that on camera with you because you can go over to the Stampin' Up channel and you can see how they do it. But what I'm going to do is just separate these pieces out so I know what is going with what. And I just want to point out with the instructions here, I just go to card 2. I start with this one. I then bring in this one here. I need the birthday sentiment from this. So I think this one has the birthday wishes. That's going to go over the top of those panels there, and you've got a gorgeous little cluster all ready to put onto your card base. How pretty is that? And that's how fast and simple this is. So I'll be back after I've pressed everything out and got things ready to put together a scrapbook layout on camera for you. I finished the cards off exactly as they were designed in the instructions, just one of each. And I think when you look at them in person, you realize just how beautiful they are. I don't think the online image or or even the print here really showcases just how beautiful these cards are in person. The dots here are perfectly positioned. I have changed this one just a little bit. I'll open this up so that you can see it a little bit better. It's a bit hard to pick out. On the instructions, they have the birthday part of the sentiment over here, but I liked having it off to the right, off the edge of this gorgeous little vellum printed piece here. And the gold splatters just frame everything beautifully. So that one has come out really nicely. I really love the square format and I love the texture in this paper. The second card I have kept exactly as is. These are so quick to put together. It really doesn't take that long at all. And the price point is $25 and you get 9 cards from it. And they're just a beautiful personal touch for your card making. And this one is so sweet and so simple with the way this daisy element brings these 3 little strips together. So now I'm going to move on to the scrapbook layout, and I don't have as many pieces left over from this one because they are fairly minimalistic cards. And I think what I'm going to do is just get one scrapbook layout out of it, and then I'm going to have these card bases to play around with to create some different cards with them. But I loved all of these elements so much, I really wanted to make a scrapbook layout with it. So let me bring in some white paper. And I know that I'm going to use white as my base. And then I'm going to bring in just some strips of colour to go down the side. So I'm just going to push these in a little bit. And I'm tossing up between 2 colours. Now, these are old, close to my heart colours. I still have one of my favourite colours is sage. And I'm thinking that is going to work really well with these elements here. I'm going to snip these to create more leaves for this. So this was the colorway that I was thinking of doing, with more on the right side than the left. I don't want to cut my strips just yet until I'm really sure what I'm going to do with this. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do straight up is just by just cutting away this area here. I can save this for a word strip, and then I've got this one as well. So that is sort of doubling the amount of leaves that I have just by cutting these apart. And it means I can put my daisy on a piece like here. I'm just going to play around with a little cluster element, and I'm going to do the same thing with these vellum pieces. But these ones, I'm just going to cut down on this section and leave them sort of as a strip. And then I'll decide whether or not I want to cut these apart later even more. This might be a little bit cute poking out the top of a photo element. So I'm going to do the same thing for this. Just leaving a little strip there. Actually, I probably could have kept it a little bit larger than that, but we'll see how we're going to go. So maybe these will work quite well. I can even overlap them a little bit, possibly. Then I've got these little strips here that were printed. So there were 2 for each card. So I should have 4 left. I don't know where the other one's gone. Oh, they're a bit stuck together. So I'm thinking I might use this little arrangement similar to the card and put a little daisy on top of that. I've got my washi tape pieces. I want to bring those in. So maybe 1 for each side. Or will I put that as a little cluster coming out here? So it's just playing around with the elements that are left over and seeing how I want to design things. What I'm thinking of doing is putting in a larger photo on this side, but I'm going to replicate somewhat what I'm doing in this right corner here over to this left side piece. Now, these go exactly the same way, and I want to layer them up. I'm going to move this piece. I think I just want these 2 pieces here for now and put this here. So then I want another daisy coming out. So I'm just going to get my scissors and cut that one, put that coming out the top here, and then I should be able to, if I trim this so that I get a nice straight edge, so I'm just cutting that away a little bit, and then I can attach another leaf further up this daisy here, and that just gives it more of a clustered look rather than having 2 daisies with the leaves going in the same direction. I might tuck one of these in here as well. And I have another colour that I was thinking of using, and this is Desert Rose, and this is an old, it's close to my heart colour as well, but it sort of matches up beautifully with this floral element. So I'm thinking I might do my photo mats with this, and I'm going to cut a title out of this sage piece and put that in. But I think the colours look really nice together, and this is what I mean about, imagine this as a photo mat, and this could sort of sit very delicately going across here. This is going to be a soft, gentle type page, suitable for some baby projects maybe. And then I've got a few other little elements here. So I could use one of these to come out of the top as well. Maybe not quite as many leaves on this side. I'm going to do some cutting down of some photo mats and do a little bit more positioning and trim these borders that I'm creating with the sage cardstock. And then I'll be back with a little bit more of a spread with these ready to be positioned and put onto the page. I've trimmed down some of the sage cardstock to 1.5 by 12 inch and 3.25 by 12 inch. And when I was looking at how I had everything placed on here, it is a little bit pale behind here. So I do want to add a little bit of color to this. So I'm just going to bring in some old olive ink and a blending brush, and I'm going to ink up certain areas here just with a little bit of ink to give these some places to land, just to bring a little bit of color into the page. I've just got some printer paper here that is a little bit of scrap, and I'm going to do a little bit of test on this to start with. So I'm just going to pick up some old olive, and I've brushed some of it off, and then I want this light sort of piece here. So I'm just going to bring this in and just see how the flowers look. And I think they're going to stand out a little bit better with some colour behind them. So I'm going to do that in this area down here where I'm going to have that cluster of daisies. I'm going to take some of the colour off, and then I can come in with a very light hand and then start adding the colour. Now, I probably think this isn't showing up on camera very much for you. But if I bring that up to the camera here, I think you can see a little bit of colour happening. But it is very important to brush some of this off. These are delicate pieces, so I'm not going to be able to hide where I've got a bit of a smoosh mark here. So I just want to make sure that I am just building up this colour gently. I'm not pushing too hard. And I think that's going to be enough for that section. I'm just going to bring these back in, put them on. I might actually put a little bit more of this blending into the sage. So I found old olive is a pretty good alternative for not having the sage ink, but I have got a little bit of sage cardstock left over, and it's one of my favourite colours. So I'm going to be a bit sad when that disappears. So I've got a little bit of this ink blending here ready for my florals, and then I'm going to do the same thing up in this area here, just to bring in a little bit of that colour for this area that's going to come out from the photo holder that I'm going to have. Now, this one, I can start off where I know my photo placement is going to go, so I know that I can bring the colour up from here. I've got something on this piece of paper, but that's okay. It's going to be covered up. And then I'm just going to gently apply this ink. And then I'm going to work out the placement of my other elements so that I can bring in a little bit more of this old olive ink blending. So you can see I've gone ahead and sort of done the base part of this layout. I haven't adhered the daisies down yet. But what I've done for this vellum piece to just stretch it a little bit further is to simply cut one of the pieces in half so that I can put it across this area here. And that gives more of a place for these little daisies to sit and adds a little bit of softness to this side. And I've done that blending over here. Now, these ones aren't actually adhered down yet, and I've cut the title using the Alphabet a la Mode dies. It's one of my favourite dies for alphabets, and I've done that from some of the sage cardstock, but I don't really love how it's looking up there, so I'm thinking of moving this down here. It gives it a nice little place for it to land, but then I've got all this area a little bit blank, so I'm going to move things up a little bit here. I've still got these pieces to play with, as well as some more of those leaves. These are all off onto my little tray here. This little silicone mat comes with the glass mat, so I use it quite often just for sorting pieces. Now, just by moving that up a little bit like this to put my title here, this gives me an area to create something for my journaling. I do like the softness of the blending here, and what I'm thinking of doing now is just inserting some of these other sprigs. So maybe what I'll do is adhere this one down first. I like how this looks on the sage, and then I can tuck a little leaf element there. So that builds that area up. I'm not sure if the vellum's just getting a little bit lost. The vellum actually stands out better on the white. I thought it would be more lost on the white. So maybe I will do it this way and add one of those little sprigs. I've got 2 of these little tab elements here left. So I can bring one in on this side. I've got my vellum piece over here, so I'm just wondering maybe I will tuck that this way to come out from here and then overlap one of these on there, and that sort of replicates this side. I can also put one of the vellum pieces up against here and build this up a little bit with one of these leaves. Put that in. I'm not sure if I'm loving that striped element there, so I'm just going to take that away and bring that washi tape back in. I keep going to call this washi tape, but it's not, it's vellum. Now I do want to put another one of these vellum pieces in on this main photo. So this is the featured photo. I sort of like having a featured photo, a bit of a larger one on the left side. So I think this is coming along really well. I might have to adhere some things down just so that I'm not moving them around so much. But I do have some more of these elements. So what I might do is tuck another one of these in here. I'm just going to tear this piece off and put that there to build that one up. And then I'm going to put this floral piece over on that side just to extend those 2 pieces. And they're all the vellum pieces used. And I've still got this little element here. I might tuck that in amongst my title. And of course, I mustn't forget that I've got this little leaf. So I'm going to do some adhering down, but before I do that, I want to bring in a little bit more of this colour onto this area here to give my title somewhere to land. So I'm just going to quickly blend that on now. That's going to just sit nicely with my title that's going to go across here. And I've also got this tissue paper that I saved from the box. Remember at the beginning of the video when I was unboxing it, I said don't throw these pieces away. I have been guilty of doing that in the past, but I thought this might create a nice soft little element for my photo to sit on. What I'm going to do though is actually crunch it up a little bit, just to give it a little bit more texture. And that can sit sort of in this area here with the washi tape coming out from it. So I'm just going to play around with this again. There's a lot of dry fitting that goes on when you're creating layouts, just to make sure that you've got everything how you want it to appear before you actually adhere things down. I do like the softness of that tissue paper. It does match in with these vellum pieces. So I'm going to go ahead with that and adhere some of these elements down, and I'm going to be back for some finishing touches. I'm just laying my title down, and I want to have this S sort of wrapped around with the leaf here. So I've just put a little bit of glue on that top section, and then I'm just going to sort of weave it in and amongst there because I think that looks rather gorgeous. But I wanted to adhere it so that it was together. It was a bit tricky to try and adhere the S down and then tuck the remaining part of this leaf in and around it. I just need to tweak this a little bit, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this section of the S as well, so that that part adheres, and then I can adhere this together. So I don't need terribly much glue. This Barely Art glue is excellent for its fine tip pen. It's very quick drying, so you don't have too much wiggle room, but it's perfect for adhering these sort of elements that are quite fine. And I've just got my T-ruler here to make sure that everything is all nice and straight before I push everything down. So I really love that little touch of putting the leaf element there, and these other parts here I just need to adhere these pieces down, and I'm still toying with this piece of vellum. Maybe I will just have that so that it's sort of a little bit underneath here. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on there. This vellum is very thick, so it's really good for adhering to things, and even when you're using Stampin' Seal or Stampin' Seal Plus, it really doesn't show the adhesive, especially if you put it where the pattern pieces are. So now I'm going to attach this in. I do love having self-closing tweezers. They're a lifesaver for me. I can't seem to use the ones that go the other way, where I have to hold them closed. So this I am tucking underneath this photo mat. I don't want that part to be seen. that little strip that I had, and then I'm going to add another one of these in here. It's very subtle, this layout. I love how soft and beautiful it is, and I really love the elements in this card kit, and that made me want to do a scrapbook layout with it. So now I just need to tuck this little one under. Make sure I tuck it under the right piece here. There we go. And then I've just got this one here to adhere down, because where I've put all those little vellum pieces, I've got one of these leaves. So being able to cut that apart just a little bit has helped extend the use of that rather than having the two pieces together. So these have all gone over top of this little tissue element here. I'm thinking what I might do is just stretch this tissue paper out. You can see I have put it on the right side of the page as well. Whatever I do to the left page, I like to have some of the element there. But what I'm going to do is just crease this up just a little bit, just to give it a little bit more texture. And then I'm thinking I might just put this piece over top here. So that brings in 3 of those vellum pieces. So by cutting one of these in half, it really has worked out quite well to be able to stretch it across the 2-page spread here. And that's what I've done. Well, this one's quite stuck. I'm having trouble sticking that down. There we go. So that's just going to sit there. It brings all of that in. And then this is where my journaling spot is going to go. And I'm thinking I need to bring these in. So I'm thinking to bring that in, I might just finish off this little title here with this. I think that's going to work really well. So this is just going to be placed under here. And that gives a nice little grounding point for that title. So then just a little fine journaling here is going to work quite well. Now this kit came also with these beautiful little gold dots. So I think I'm going to use those just to finish things off. So I've used up all the gems that came with that kit. I think the added touch of the tissue paper has worked really nicely for this. It just softens things up a little bit more and makes for a really sweet layout. Now, if you wanted to, you could bring in some stamping with this and use 2nd or 3rd generation old olive. And if you've got some leaf elements, and stamp those underneath these cluster areas just to build them up a little bit more if you wanted to take this to the next level. And you could also do some stamping onto these sage pieces here that I've got and make your own leaf design. But I quite love the simplicity of this page, and I know that when the photos go onto this layout, they are really going to pop with these gorgeous sweet elements that have come from these cards. I think this is a beautiful set, and the white on white is so elegant. I really did want to make a double page spread with this. Before I move on to show you what else I've created using the card bases from this set, I've used up all the die cuts except for this one piece on these projects here. But I did have the card bases, so I'm going to show you those in just a minute. But before I move on, I did want to mention this tissue paper. I don't know if this is acid free or not, but it is on my page with some cardstock next to it, and another piece here that I will use as a white photo mat. So my photos aren't going to be directly on the tissue paper at all. So everything should be fine, because I know that the cardstock and these photo mats here that I've got from Close to My Heart days are safe for the photos. So as long as the tissue paper and things like that that you bring in that you're not sure of aren't touching the actual photos, it should be okay to use. So I'm going to bring in the other cards that I've created using the card bases from this kit, and I have used a brand new Stampin' die set. So this is a bit of sneak peek as to what is coming out with the annual catalogue that is launching, I think it's May 6th for everybody. This is something I got from attending On Stage, which is like a convention that Stampin' Up put on in March. And surprise, I chose the florals, and I actually do love how these work. So I just wanted to show you them. I am going to do an unboxing video on what I've actually purchased, but that won't be until May. And this die set I think is very versatile. I can see the stamps are going to coordinate with the outline pieces, of these florals, and also the centers of the flowers, they will work with these circle ones, and the leaves will work with some of the leaf die cuts. But I've mainly just concentrated on the dies because I wanted something that would bring in this sort of look with the white on white and the clean lines to this, but I also wanted to bring in the ink blending that I used on the scrapbook layout. So I'm just going to go through these quickly. I will post everything on my Instagram page and my Facebook business page if you want to check out the photos over the next few days. So I've done the ink blending on this card panel here. So this is the original card, and you can see I've used this piece, this panel piece here that's got the gold foil. And when you do ink blending over the gold foiled areas, the ink resists that, so that still shines through. So white on white flowers all the way through these cards and white on white leaves. And with these dies, I'll just get this one out so you can have a little look at it. They all work the same. You've got an outline piece, and then you've got an inside piece. You use the outline piece just for the stamps, but the inside piece will cut lines and detail into that element. So you run this through your die cutting machine together if you want to get this sort of a look, and it just creates so much detail. I'm going to hold that up just a little bit closer. So I think you can see from this all the detail that you get with the circle elements here. You can run these through at the same time, so you get the outline of the circle, and then the inside piece here puts the little dots on for the center of the flowers. And the same thing happens with the leaves. This is a very versatile and clever die set. So you can get the dies on their own, or you can get 10% off the whole bundle if you buy the stamp set with the dies together. And I know most of you know that I'm not typically a floral person, but when I had my option for what I wanted to choose to do the after hours activities on stage, I chose this one because I thought it would be the most versatile set. And I really do love these fat sort of ovals here and the detail they provide. I've actually used them on a card here. So, and this one again uses this panel here, and I've just used the leaves. I needed some thank you cards, so I thought I would use all the card bases for these and the leftover elements to create these. And the floral and leaf elements that I've cut out actually come from this Thank You Kindly kit. Now, I did a video on this a couple of months ago where I created the cards as is. I stepped up the cards with some ink blending, and I also created a scrapbook layout with this kit, and I will link to that video below if you'd like to check it out. But I did cut apart the envelopes because I wanted this gold foil piece on the envelopes to go on my scrapbook layout, and that meant I had leftover pieces from the flap and also the back side of these envelopes, and they had this same textured sort of treatment to them. So I've cut all the die cut pieces out of the leftover pieces of this. So basically I've used all of this kit up, and then I've used the thank you sentiments on some of these cards here. So this one I've finally used everything in that, so that makes me really happy just by finishing off the cards from this particular pack here, Loveliest Wishes Kit. And I will leave links to everything that I've used except for this one because it's brand new and you can't order it yet, but I will leave links in the description below. So this one here, I did the same treatment. I did the ink blending with Old Olive just in a section of there, and you can see the resist with the gold foil there, and I've used that thank you sentiment. And to tie in with the black sentiment, I have just matted this on a 1/4 of an inch piece of black larger than this one, so you get an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. And then I had 4 of the standard A2 size cards left over. So I've done basically the same thing, just showcasing different elements in this die set. Now in the original one, this was just straight to the card base. But what I've done is use this element here because there are an extra 2 of those to create these cards. So that's that one there. I'm running out of room. I'm going to put this die set away. And then I've created another one just by offsetting the black cardstock, doing some more ink blending, and that's using this piece there. So there were 3 of these rectangle pieces for the cards. I've used one as designed and used the other 2 to create my own version because I used the elements on a scrapbook layout. That's why I've brought in the die set. Now this one here uses those rounded ovals, and when you actually cut this one, this cuts 2 pieces. So you get the outside piece and then you get the inside piece. So I have adhered the outside piece with all the little dots direct to the card base and then popped up the other piece onto foam tape, and for that I have used the leftover backside piece of these envelopes here, and you can see that gives that nice textured look that is contained within this card kit, and I think it just teams it all together nicely. Instead of doing the blending in an oval sort of section, I've just done a little bit of blending down the bottom, and I've also blended into the actual leaf and floral elements here just to give them a little bit more color. And then it comes to my last card, which doesn't really fit in with any of these apart from the scrapbook layout, because I use this color for mats on my scrapbook layout. And you can see these tiny little florals here. That's actually a die from this set, and it cuts out 3 of the flowers at once. And there are 2 dies in that, so I have to search and find out where the other one of these is, because you get 2 of these. I think I've dropped that on the floor somewhere. But I love how when they do some dies that are small like this, they're all together, so you don't have to just keep running through one of those little flowers. I could get 6 in one go. So this one, I've used those little floral elements. I've just cut a little panel here in the Desert Rose color, and there's some treatment on this, and that is from something new as well. So this is another sneak peek. I love these little embossing folders, and when I take them out of their packaging, I usually use something that the dies have come in just to store them in. So this is the Glass and Gardens embossing folders. This is available in a collection as well that's coming up, but I just purchased the embossing folders on their own for now, and I've run 2 through. One gives you like a glass brick look. So if you remember, glass bricks were very fashionable quite some time ago to have in a home, and this sort of replicates that, but it does graduate out so that there's less of them, so it gives you sort of a distressed look, and I love this pattern. And then there's another one which is just the roses. So this works really well on the embossed side, but I also love the debossed side as well for this pattern. So I think these are going to be used quite a bit on cards and on scrapbook layouts. So that's my sneak peeks of what's to come, but I wanted to use something new on these thank you cards, which will be going out with the catalogues that I'm about to send out from people who've purchased from me. I want to put a little thank you card in there, and I wanted to give you a sneak peek of what's coming up in May. Very excited about the new catalogue that's being released very, very soon, and I think these pieces all worked really well onto these card bases just to continue this clean sort of look that is within this Loveliest Wishes kit. So that's everything I have to show you today. I hope you hung around to the end so you could see what I did with the remaining card bases, and I do really love how the scrapbook layout has turned out. Thank you all for tuning in. Happy crafting, everyone, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.